I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to another episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. And this week, we're going to be looking at the Best Supporting Actress category. Every year, one of the most difficult categories to predict, and this year is the exact same. I have a bunch of 5 nominations, but really there's potentially even 7 or 8 possible contenders you can slot in for any of your 5. We'll discuss all of them in today's episode to ultimately help you make your own predictions, but of course, I will give my opinions as well for my personal 5 on what I think is going to get nominated. But if you're new to the series, what I do every single week is pick a different Oscar category, do a deep dive of it, give my predictions as to what I think will get nominated. We do that for all the categories, even the technical categories later on. But of course, it's more than just the Oscars as well. As the Oscar season will start to unfold, we will talk about other award shows that affect the Oscars, things like the Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, give predictions, reactions to those award shows as well. Sometimes 2 episodes a week, but without a doubt, at least 1 episode a week every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those videos, and as always, I'd love to hear your comments down below of your own personal predictions. That's why I do these videos, to create a great film community, a great Oscar community where we can all give our predictions and thoughts in the comments down below, so please do continue doing that. But without further ado, let's jump into the category, the Best Supporting Actress category. Now, as with all my videos, I want to mention that these are ranked in the likelihood of getting nominated. So oftentimes my winner is not even my #1 movie. As a matter of fact, I pick a performance that I'm pretty confident will get nominated, but maybe won't win. So that's the same thing here. So my first pick, with that being said, is Da'Vine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Now, that isn't to say Da'Vine can't win this award, but she has maybe a more difficult path to a win, but a much easier path to a nomination. First of all, she is in a really, I think, strong movie, and I think The Holdovers will do well in terms of Oscar nominations. I've seen the film, and I've been doing this, we're on my 8th season now of predicting the Oscars, so I know what constitutes an Oscar movie. I know what the Academy likes, and having seen this film, it's very understandable that the Academy will appreciate this movie, so I expect it to do well at the Oscars in terms of acting nominations and writing and picture as well. And Da'Vine Joy Randolph is one of those strong acting performances. She takes a character, the school lunch lady of this prep school in the 70s, takes this character that would always have been sort of pushed in the background in 70s movies that Payne's trying to replicate, and really brings her and gives her new depth, and creates a sort of grieving mother type that also is able to create a sense of warmness. So she's sort of sad and melancholy throughout the film, and can be sort of depressive, but she still has some joy as well, and can give those funny moments. So she's a perfect blend in this sort of dramedy style that Payne is so familiar with, because she can do both the sort of great comedy, but also give some real depth and humanity to her character of this grieving mother. But I mentioned Alexander Payne, and that's important, because when we look at his movies that do well and get nominated for Best Picture, movies like The Descendants, Nebraska in 2003 or 4, Sideways, when he gets his movies nominated for Best Picture, he also gets his performers from those movies nominated. Virginia Madsen and Thomas Hayden Church were both nominated for Sideways, George Clooney for The Descendants, Bruce Dern for Nebraska. So it's not unreasonable to say Paul Giamatti, I think, is going to get nominated for Best Actor, but also, Da'Vine Joy Randolph here, because she's essentially one of the sort of 3 co-leads. She has a supporting role, and she has more to do in the second half of the film. That being said, she is a memorable part of the movie, and she is sort of one of the main characters in that back half. So she gets a lot of screen time, which is important for the supporting actor categories, because when you think about the movie, it often helps to have a lot of screen time, because when people think about the movie, and if The Holdovers is the movie that they like, well, then they think of Da'Vine Joy Randolph. Now, her performance is very subtle and doesn't always have sort of big Oscar moments necessarily, versus what we've seen from past winners. So it's hard to say that this will get the win because of that. It's not the type of performance style that has won in the past. But this may be The Holdovers' only win of Oscar night. So if they really like the movie, this may be an easy way to reward her here. That being said, I'm still very confident that she will get at least a nomination. Then in my second slot, I'm going to go with Emily Blunt from Oppenheimer. The movie of the Oscar season so far is the frontrunner to win for Best Picture. I think it's going to do very well, overperform in terms of nominations. Oftentimes we see the frontrunners whether it be Roma or Nomadland or The Power of the Dog, that are clear frontrunners early on in the season, they almost always overperform in terms of nominations. And I think this is a clear example of an instance where supporting actress category is a little bit weak this year. So I think people will go, hey, I like Emily Blunt, I liked Oppenheimer, I will nominate her, and she will sort of ride the wave of the success. Because at least in terms of my personal opinion, Emily Blunt, I didn't think stole the movie necessarily. She's a small part of the movie. She doesn't get as much screen time as maybe you'd want her to. That being said, she does have enough to ultimately sort of push her over the edge, and at the end of the day, you have to sort of, when making Oscar predictions, try to push aside your personal opinions and try to think like Oscar voters do. And she's got a lot of things going for her. First of all, like I mentioned, she's in the most well-liked Oscar movie of the year. I think this is going to get the most nominations, frontrunner for Best Picture. And oftentimes we see performances, whether that be Yalitza Aparicio for Roma, get nominated because people really like Roma, or Jean Dujardin for The Artist. People oftentimes, or even last year, everyone really liked Everything Everywhere All at Once, so they gave that movie 3 Oscar awards just because they really liked the movie. It does happen where if you're a part of a really enjoyable movie and a really well-liked movie, sometimes you'll just sort of get pushed along into a nomination because of the strength of your film, because people just like your movie so much, they're going to nominate everyone from the movie. So she has that. Number 2, Emily Blunt has been circling a nomination for a long time. I think she is a well-respected actor, a well-liked actor, and I think there may be a little bit of a narrative building of, hey, why hasn't she had a nomination before? She should at least have a nomination, if not a win. Well-respected actor, well-liked, and sort of has paid her dues in the many different wonderful films that she's been in. So she's well-liked in a movie that is well-liked. And then number 3, she has sort of an Oscar scene. She has this moment where she goes up against the kangaroo court and sort of dismantles them, and has her scene where she sort of wins and is memorable. So people will think about the movie and think, oh yeah, she had that really good scene. She was really great in that. Okay, boom, I'll nominate her there. And I just did a series called The Ultimate Oscar Showdown, in which I tier ranked acting winners from the 2010s all the way to the 1970s, and I did the Best Supporting Actress category, and I watched all of the winners from the 2010s all the way to the 1970s, and let me tell you that the Emily Blunt is sort of a prototypical supporting actress winner and nominee, in that she plays a supporting wife. The supporting actress category often has a lot of supporting wife archetypes as winners in those categories. You also have a lot of winners who sort of win for one scene, whether it be Beatrice Straight from Network, or Laura Dern from Marriage Story, I would even argue, or Vanessa Redgrave for Julia. It's not rare to see a supporting actress winner win for one really impactful scene, and Emily Blunt has that here in Oppenheimer, so maybe she even potentially wins because of that. It's an archetype of an Oscar type of at least nomination for this category, from a movie that's well liked, from a performer that we expect has been on the cusp of nomination many times, so she's respected within the industry, and that's enough ultimately for me to consider her at least sort of a pretty good solid chance at a nomination. And then my 3rd and 4th picks are going to be from the same movie, The Color Purple, and my nominees are going to be Danielle Brooks and Taraji P. Henson. And this is a big bet on The Color Purple, which is kind of a hard one to do, a hard bet to make, because no one's seen the film. That being said, if you see how Warner Brothers is positioning the film, if you look at past year's Oscar trends, if you've been doing it as long as I've been doing it, you know that there's always a late sort of Oscar movie that gets into the Oscar race. A December release movie that doesn't play the film festivals, does their own sort of thing, and still does well at the Oscars, and benefits from the fact that they were the last Oscar movie to be released and have that sort of top-of-mind awareness and top-of-mind recency bias and love. If you look at the past few years, 2022, we had Avatar: The Way of Water. Didn't play at any of the film festivals, premiered in December, eventually got in for Best Picture. 2021, West Side Story, a very similar movie to this. 2020, you had Judas and the Black Messiah. 2019, you had 1917. 2018, you had Vice. Not every big Oscar movie plays at the festivals. Most of them do, but there's every year at least one or two December movies that ultimately wow in December and Christmas time, and then get nominated for Best Picture. And if you look at my 9 Best Picture predictions, 9 of the 10 that I gave you have already been seen by critics, have already played the film festivals. Even my possible contenders, they've played the film festivals, they've played for critics. People know the quality of the film. So The Color Purple is the example. That or maybe Napoleon, but I'm putting my money on The Color Purple. And then also the fact that, you know, this is a musical. We don't have any other musicals right now in the Best Picture lineup. So without that out of the way, let's just assume that Color Purple gets nominated for Best Picture. Okay, well then it's a well-liked movie. What else is it going to get nominated for? Maybe some technical stuff, maybe, you know, song, score, things like that. But mainly, it's the acting awards too. And if you look at who got nominated in the '85 movie, it was the people playing the characters in the supporting actress category playing Sophia and Shug. And who were the actors playing Sophia and Shug this year? Danielle Brooks and Taraji P. Henson. So of course you have Danielle Brooks, who is actually, I think, probably my frontrunner to win right now. It makes too much sense in terms of past winners. Of course, she's a supporting actress in a musical. If we look at the supporting actress category with musicals, there's a very high hit rate. Anne Hathaway wins for Les Miserables. Jennifer Hudson wins for Dreamgirls. Just a couple years ago, Ariana DeBose wins for West Side Story. If you want to go further back, Catherine Zeta-Jones for Chicago. The supporting actress category and the musical film, oftentimes the supporting actress category goes to a winner from a performer in a musical film. So that's a good sign for Danielle here in a sort of weak category where we don't know who the potential winner is. Then if you prescribe my theory of recent Oscar history, oftentimes if you get nominated for Best Picture, you walk home with at least one Oscar. That's a positive sign, I think, to The Color Purple as well, because this is probably its best chance of getting a win. And Danielle Brooks as a performer as well, you know, Oprah Winfrey is producing the film. She played Sophia in the original film. She, of course, I think because she's producing the film, made sure that her character is well represented and has enough sort of memorable scene-stealing instances. So I think she'll be solid in this film as well. But then I think just the wow factor of, I think not a lot of people know Danielle Brooks in the Academy. She hasn't been nominated before, so she has a bit of that newcomer energy. She can sing. I'm sure she's very impactful in the film. So if the emotions hit and the singing hits, it could be similar to like a Jennifer Hudson in Dreamgirls with this sort of newcomer sort of coming onto the scene and wowing everyone, or like an Ariana DeBose in West Side Story. And then I also think Taraji P. Henson gets nominated from this film because she plays a different type of performance. Of course, she's been nominated before. She's well respected. She's a little bit older, but she still has that juice to her as well. So she's not the newcomer that wows everybody, but she's sort of like that, oh, we always love Taraji. She's always good. We like the movie. Let's sort of push her along with it as well. And then also, if you look at the supporting actor categories for the last 6 years, the story of the categories has been the double nomination. Has been 2 actors from the same movie getting nominated in the same category. For the past 6 years in a row, we've had at least one of the 2 categories, supporting actor or supporting actress, have that instance in which 2 people from the same movie get nominated in this category. Last year, of course, being Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Hsu, and then in 2018, you had Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone, or in the supporting actor category, 2017, Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson. 2019, Joe Pesci and Al Pacino for The Irishman, or last year, Brendan Gleeson and Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin. So we see this every year. There's a bit of a trend going on with the Oscars where they like to nominate 2 people from the same movie. I think that can definitely happen in the supporting actor category, but I also think it could happen in this category too, if you're a believer like I am that The Color Purple is an Oscar movie. So it's sort of logical, I think, to go, okay, well, look at the original Color Purple. What performances from that movie got nominated? Okay, it was the lead, Celia, and then it was the supporting actors. So naturally here, I think the potential for nominations are in lead, but I think a little bit easier of a nomination is for that sort of supporting actor instance. And I think for me, I think about this movie and these performances like West Side Story from 2021, a musical that was released later in the year that was based on another film, sort of a pseudo remake. This is a musical adaptation, so it's a little bit different, but still a musical, still sort of a remake of an older classic film. And potentially gets a lot of nominations, technical appreciation, picture, and then wins one for supporting actress. It could very much follow the West Side Story path, and I'm predicting at least 2 nominations here in this category. And then in my 5th slot, I'm going to go with Penelope Cruz for Ferrari. And this is a super tough slot and one of the most difficult categories. You could really choose 3 or 4 other people to be in the slot, but ultimately I went with Penelope Cruz because she's got everything, I think, going for her. She's got all these different elements where the other supporting actors, they don't have everything. And Cruz has a lot of these tropes of Oscar nominees or winners in the past, in that she's in a biopic. the Oscars love biopics. She's playing a real life person. They love when actors play real life people. She has big sort of emotional scenes, but she's also sort of very distraught and strong in her quiet scenes as well. This is going to be a movie I think that's going to be well seen, because I think Michael Mann is a respected auteur, so people will at least go and see his film. And also it's being positioned as an Oscar movie. It played the film festivals, it was released in Christmas. So she's got all these things where she's a past winner, so she's well liked, she's playing a real life person in a movie that maybe won't do crazy well, but will do well enough. All these sort of small things I think will add up to ultimately give her a nomination. Because if you look at the potential contenders in this slot, you go Jodie Foster, you go Viola Davis, you go Julianne Moore, and you go, well, they've all won before, so maybe they're going to be more well-liked than Penelope Cruz. Oh wait, no, Penelope Cruz has also won an Oscar before, so she's still well-liked as well. So that sort of cancels everything out. So then you go, okay, they're all well-liked, well, what about the movie and what about the performance? Well, I think Ferrari is going to get maybe an editing, maybe even a cinematography nomination, so it's probably going to be the most well-nominated out of all those other movies, NYAD, Air, and May, December. So then it's like, okay, so Penelope Cruz has the movie, the stronger movie. And then what about the performance itself? Well, she has big sort of emotional scenes. She has scene-stealing instances, but she also has sort of small, quiet moments where she's very powerful as well. So she has a strong performance. So that's the thing. If you look at the possible contenders, they have some of these things, but they don't have everything that Penelope Cruz has. And I think the also important factor to remember is it is being positioned like an Oscar movie. If you look at something like Air versus Ferrari, even if they both get one nomination each, or, you know, 2 nominations each, it is important to remember when we're trying to decide which is a stronger film in terms of the Oscars, not in terms of personal opinion, but we're trying to determine which is the stronger film. Look at the one that's positioning itself as a strong film, the one that's playing fall film festivals, that has a Christmas release, that will have the recency bias, whereas Air, it already played back in April. You have to go back and remember that you like Viola Davis and Air, whereas Penelope Cruz will have that sort of top-of-mind awareness come voting season. So she's got everything. That's why I like Cruz here for Ferrari. Then speaking of my possible contenders, my first one being, I'd say Jodie Foster for NYAD. Like Penelope Cruz, she has a lot of the similar aspects where she's a past winner, so she's well liked. NYAD, I think, will potentially get a nomination for Annette Bening as well. I mentioned on that episode, the Best Actress video, that the SAG Awards, I think, will really enjoy NYAD because it's a Netflix movie, and we've seen Netflix movies do very well at SAG. But with the SAG actors still on strike, who knows if we're even going to have a SAG Awards this year. So that actually, I think, downgrades Jodie Foster and Annette Bening and the movie NYAD's chances. So, but Jodie Foster does have the fact that she is playing a real-life person in a movie that will be highly seen from someone that we really like. But she doesn't have that transformational performance. She doesn't have big standout scenes. It helps that she's a co-lead of the film, so she's in a lot of the movie, but she doesn't have a lot of transformation for the most part. She is like Jodie Foster, and if you know the real-life person, I was able to actually go to a Q&A with the real-life person and one of the directors of the film, and you can tell that Jodie Foster actually did a very good job at portraying this woman, but because she's very sort of calm, the real-life person is calm and relaxed, it doesn't give Jodie Foster a lot of chances to really be big and emotional like the Oscars usually like. So I have a little bit of a concern that it's just not enough of a big, bold performance to get the nomination, but she's definitely a possible contender. And then my other possible contender is Viola Davis for Air, who you may create a narrative that, she was snubbed because of the Andrea Riseborough sort of shenanigans that happened last year. She was snubbed for The Woman King. Therefore, this year, we're going to give her the nomination as a bit of a makeup. That's a bit of a stretch. The Oscars are so big. Narratives like that don't really happen as much anymore. Also, her movie Air was released back in April, so you have to put money and campaign into this film if you want it to be a Best Picture contender. But with the SAG strike going on right now, the two sort of main campaigners of this film, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, aren't out there. And I don't think once the SAG strike is over, they're going to immediately go onto a press tour for Air to try to get it to supporting actress nomination. They probably shouldn't go back to work because they're excited to finally work once the strike is over. So the fact that I don't think there's going to have a lot of campaigning, and then you look at the company Amazon. Amazon has been, less interested every year that passes with the Oscars. They were big, heavy in sort of 2017 with Manchester by the Sea. But, if you look at movies like 13 Lives last year, that could have gotten a couple nominations. It didn't, so disappointed there. One Night in Miami got a couple of sort of missed nominations and disappointed that year. Even down to movies like The Tender Bar, not even really competing the year it came out. So every year there's usually movies that they have that are on the cusp, but ultimately they don't put enough money, enough campaigning campaigning into trying to get them nominations, and they don't ultimately resonate with Oscar voters. So I have a concern that they won't spend the money and there won't be enough campaigning for Air to be a potential sort of Best Picture nominee. And then I think that also translates to Viola Davis for Best Supporting Actress. And that's why I went with a movie like Penelope Cruz for Ferrari, because she has that recency bias of it'll be re-releasing in Christmas and people have just seen it and be wowed by her performance, and she gets into that 5th slot, maybe similarly to how she got nominated for Parallel Mothers, only a couple of years ago without any precursors. So, if anything, the Oscars do like Penelope Cruz. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and my predictions. As always, I'd love to hear your comments and your predictions in the comments down below. Please do that. Subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, as always. But stay tuned to next week, where we're going to be talking about the Best Supporting Actor category. That will be a lot of fun and another sort of exciting category with a lot of potential contenders. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, stay tuned.